My tribute to that gate, Ya Ali Madad. Consider the following imagined scenario, loosely based on narratives that have come down to us from the first few centuries after the Prophet's death. A 16-year-old student in Baghdad is introduced by a friend to a newly translated work titled Theology of Aristotle. His muallim, teacher at the madrasa, doesn't approve of this new age philosophy, but the student finds the ideas so profound that he starts hiding his new obsession for Plotinus and his philosophy from his teacher. When he and his friends meet up after class, they sincerely question, why shouldn't knowledge that is non Islamic in origin have a place within their education system at the madrasa? You see, a prevalent understanding amongst many in the ulama, particularly from the Ahl al Hadith school of thought, may have been that all knowledge that Muslims needed was already available through revelation to the Prophet of Islam, and therefore there was no more space for new knowledge. Many of my friends in the technology world may empathize with a very similar dilemma we face with the not invented here syndrome. Nonetheless, these students question, why can't the powers of a rational intellect complement revelation in understanding God's creation? Didn't the Prophet himself say that one should go to even China in search of knowledge? Questions and guilt continue to preoccupy their teenage minds as they feel forced to choose between their Muslim identity and their love of the new sciences to better understand Allah's creation. In face of such a dilemma, imagine this 16-year-old coming across the encyclopedic work of a group of scholars known in history as the Ikhwan al-Safa, who demonstrate awareness and understanding not only of the classical Greeks, but also of the traditions of the Babylonians, the Indians, and the Persians, as well as Christian and Jewish thought, so as to create a space for enriching encounters with these civilizations. According to the IIS, these scholars were believed to have lived in Basra in Iraq in the 9th and the 10th century and were connected to the nascent Ismaili community of the time. Professor Abbas Hamdani introduces them as, quote, a group of intellectuals working as a think tank for the Fatimid Dawah and preaching an activist philosophy of change needed in the Muslim world, end of quote. These scholars rework, embrace, and deeply integrate the available new knowledge within the framework of values and principles of Islam and of the Islamic sciences. Their work is so influential that for the next few centuries, we have Ismaili scholars like Al-Nasafi, Al-Razi, Al-Sirazi, Al-Kirmani, Sayyidina Nasir Khusraw, and even the peers in South Asia, among many others, who continue discussing, debating, and engaging with ideas generated within this intellectual framework. The 52 epistles of the Ikhwan helped open space for young Muslim minds to explore these new sciences within the framework of their own faith traditions. Let's keep this backdrop in our minds as we consider the following hadith of the Prophet that all of us are probably familiar with. I am the city of knowledge, and Ali is its gate. Whosoever desires knowledge should enter the city by that gate. Most of the time when I have thought about this hadith, I have focused predominantly on the city of knowledge. Today, I would like all of you to indulge me in thinking about that gate. When he found the walls enclosing his city suffocating, it is this gate that Nasir Khusro went searching for. His search for that gate offers the realization that the Prophet had not walled off his city without leaving behind that gate for every generation after him, so that city always remained accessible. Just like in the 9th and the 10th century, that gate created space for an activist philosophy of change needed in the Muslim world, ushering in the celebrated golden period in Islam. As the Fatimids take over North Africa and then Egypt in the 10th century, we find no forced conversions of the Sunni majority. On the contrary, we even find the establishment of an independent judicial system with Maliki Qadis or judges within the Shia administration. That gate, in this instance, opened up space for equity amongst a diverse citizenry by seeding nascent ideas of pluralism into governance. After Alamut, we find that gateway opening up space for an even stronger encounter with Tasawwuf and the Sufi tariqas in Central Asia and in Iran. Within South Asia, we find that gateway allowing a remarkable openness for ideas consistent with our ideals as the community intermingled with those of the Bhakti movement, leading to the Satpant tradition in the subcontinent. At MIT in 1994, Maulana Hazar Imam shared that such encounters have rich dimensionality and suggested that one of the prerequisites for success is for each of these cultures to draw upon their strengths. This ethos for the creation of space for syncretistic ideas during cultural encounters has offered us traditions and religious practices that we have inherited from our forefathers that are still part of the practice of our tariqah today. A millennium after the Ikhwan al-Safa in the 19th and the 20th century, we find that gate opening a space for gender equity in access to education, healthcare, and in family life. More recently, we find that gate to the city of knowledge creating space for ideas that we often consolidate within the term cosmopolitan ethics, an idea that recognizes our shared aspirations in a diverse global setting, that allows a 16-year-old comfort in the intellectual coherence between life in the 21st century and her identity as an Ismaili Muslim. Reflecting on our personal experiences, many of us may realize that in our own lives, we too always turn to that gate to open up reservoirs of hope, courage, patience, and peace for us during our times of need. That gate opens up a new terrain of possibilities that makes us dare to believe that we can be something more. And when we do, that gate expands the boundaries of our understanding of the proverbial city to allow us space, to find our calling, to find our purpose, and to find our identity without compromising our ideals. Toni Morrison called identity our mooring, both inwards and outwards, offering us a space to belong. Over the past 1388 years, we have approached that gate through the lanes of falsafa, like the 16-year-old, through the lanes of rational sciences, through the lanes of tasawwuf, dhikr, and spiritual practices, through the lanes of ritual practices and traditions of our forefathers, through the lanes of cosmopolitan ethics, through the lanes of justice, service, and support for human dignity. Every lane in space and time offering a place for vision unopened. And as we each approach that gate, we bear in our own unique ways feelings which, if clothed in language, may resonate with the following tribute inspired from Tagore. As our days journeys to dusks, lest that gate is shut, we hasten in fear. Yet there is time, for our hearts always find that gate open and near. Our hearts bend down at that gate to kiss the ground, for it knows we finally are where we always belonged. Rumi says, quote, "Thou art the gate of the city of knowledge. Thou art the beams of the sun of compassion. Be open to him, O gate, that seeks the gate, so that by means of thee the husks may reach the core." Access to this gate of the city of knowledge today in the 21st century brings us comfort in our inherited identity as Shia Imami Ismaili Muslims. Let me take a moment to reflect that today is also the day that our beloved Imam Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah physically left this world in 1957. But instead of mourning or expressing grief, we are celebrating the Takht Nashini of our Imam. When my kids were younger, I remember them asking, "Did we love him less?" I'm sure all of you would have responded the same way to their innocent question. No, beta, we loved him dearly. However, that gate to the city of knowledge is still with us in the person of Imam Shah Karim Al Hussaini, our Maulana, our Hazar Imam. No matter what our unique stations in life, he continues to invite us into Islam's proverbial city of knowledge, along with all our hopes, all our aspirations, and all our ideals, so that our husks may finally have the opportunity to reach the core. Imamat Day Mubarak, my friends, and Ya Ali Madad.